Hello, good evening. Welcome to another Case the Caddy, Thursday nights at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. If this is your first time finding me, welcome. I always love new people to join in my video tutorials. I'm a Canadian Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. My name is Erica, and I go by From Me to You Paper Crafts, so welcome. For my current followers who love to watch, like Lena, who's just joined us this evening, good evening. You are welcome back as well. Tonight, I'm pretty excited about tonight's Case the Caddy. I'm not doing what I thought I was going to do, but I've changed my mind because I ordered this stamp set called Coneflower Celebrations, and I got really excited about, there's actually two gorgeous cards that I could have chosen to case tonight, but I'm picking the coneflower that has the yellow in it, not the one with the pink in it. So it is called Coneflower Celebrations. This is the stamp set here, and it comes with a coordinating set of dies. It's not part of a suite. It's just a stamp set and the dies. And if you buy the bundle together, Canadian, it's $72.75, and you get a 10% discount when you buy both of them at the same time. So that's what we're using tonight, and I'll show you some other products that we're going to use to make one of the cards there. So without further ado, I'm going to turn my camera down or bring my camera forward so that you can see what's up on my desk. Okay, so first let's show you the catalog page here. This is it right here. It's on page 82 of our annual catalog. And although these two cards are absolutely gorgeous with the coneflowers, I'm going to do this one here, the one with the yellow. It's actually crushed curry is the color. It has the lovely little butterfly about to land on the coneflower, and it's got a greeting that says, "It's your day." We're going to be using an embossing folder, and we're going to be using a blending brush to color that embossed piece. And yeah, we're going to have lots of fun with this. This is my very first time using this set. So as I learn, you will be learning. As I make a mistake, you will know not to make the same mistake. That's kind of how I go. All right. Excuse me. Okay, so I'm going to show you in more detail what the stamp set looks like. This is it right here, Coneflower Celebrations. It's got this beautiful, huge coneflower on here. And then it's got this beautiful little butterfly in flight. It's got two different leaves, and it's got lots of fun greetings. And it's also got some what I call splatter or splotched. It's a splotched stamp to create some backgrounds or even texture on the leaves if you want it to kind of look like it had rained, perhaps. You've got a stem. And then you've got, this is a beautiful font. I've seen this font before, but you've got Happy Belated Birthday. Sometimes that comes in really, really handy. You've got You Made My Day. You've got Thank You, Celebrating You. I'm sorry I missed your special day. Let's extend the celebration. I love that I've known you for so many birthdays. It really is a fabulous birthday set. Well, including a thank you, you made my day would be great. But it's a great, great birthday set. So if you've got a lot of birthdays to send out, to me, it's a perfect summer birthday set. Okay, so this is what the dies look like. Now, it's very interesting. We've got this die, the coneflower, and we saw this with the butterfly set in that the butterfly cut out with a crease in the middle so that you could actually create a card shaped like a butterfly. So in this case, you'll be able to cut a card shaped like the coneflower. So it could be a little invitation, perhaps to a summer party. Or you can layer it together on the card to make it almost look like you could flip it open and maybe put a greeting inside, or you could keep it closed and add some extra dimension by putting in some dimensionals just to give it some height. You've got, this is a textured coneflower, the center of the coneflower. And so you could die cut that in any of the brown colors, pecan pie or crumb cake or early espresso, for example. And then you've got die cuts for the leaves. And then you've got another sheet here. Now this sheet gives you the die cut for the stem, of course. And then you've got, these are called texture dies. So these are what are called outline dies because they die cut the images, okay? These dies don't die cut the image, but they add texture. So you layer it on top of the printed or the stamped images. And then you've got this. I'm not quite sure what this is for, but it's some kind of texture that you could add maybe as a background, or I'm not quite sure what that's used for. If you guys have any ideas, you can let me know. So we're not going to be using these tonight. We're going to be doing some straight stamping. We're going to die cut, and then we're going to do some coloring. Now I've chosen to use my colored pencils. I'm really hoping Stampin' Up! Updates the colored pencils with some of our newest colors that we've had over the past couple of years, because they came out with these. This is 2 sets of colored pencils. They're watercolor pencils that I keep in this little case. And it would be nice for them to, you know, maybe I should put that in the suggestion box and maybe add some extra colors to the family, right? All right, so these are watercolor pencils, and I'm going to be using the blender pen again. Now, the blender pen is you don't have to have a blender pen, but the blender pen, if you've ever done any pencil coloring before, you'll notice that they kind of leave, I don't know another term, but kind of scratchy, or so if you color up and down like that, you can see kind of like the pencil strokes, I guess you could say. Or if I typically color in circles, you'll see them. Well, what the blender pen does is it smooths all of that and it kind of blends the colors together. So you could, lightly color by not pressing down very hard. And then on some parts of the image, like where you want to create a shadow, you could press down harder with the pencil. And then you can use the blender pen to blend some of the dark into the light, like we do with our blends, our alcohol markers. Okay, so we're going to use those. All right, so I am starting with a card base, a 4 1/4 by 11 card base, and I've I have scored that at 5.5 inches, and I folded it in half. So that's our card base. And then on top, there is another layer of white that we're actually going to put in this Forever Plaid embossing folder. I love this embossing folder. But before we do that, we're going to do some blending to create a bit of a blue background on here, and then we're going to put this on the card. So I figured out the measurement to be, the card is 4 1/4 inches wide, so I have decided to make this 3 1/4 inches wide so that you've got a bit of a wider border along the sides here, okay? And then I've got an extra piece here to stamp my flower. So let's start with the blending brushes. Now I prefer to blend before I emboss. It's just what I prefer to do. You can blend on top of an embossed piece. Just be aware that the raised bits may turn out to be a little bit darker. Okay, so the blue I'm using is Balmy Blue. It's one of my favorite colors to create like skies. And it does make a very soft background. And I pulled out a blending brush. These are fabulous. We've got this size plus a smaller size. And hi, Christine, how are you? All right, so let's do some blending. Now, I like to have a scrap piece of paper available, or you can use, one of your grid sheets on here. I tend not to get that too grody looking, so I can keep using it longer. So I've got a piece of scrap paper here, and I'm going to, actually, I've got another piece under here too. I'm going to pick up some color. So what you want to do is rub onto the ink pad and pick up some color. And as both of you know, you don't just stick it on your card and start blending. You want to kind of tap off some of the color, and then you want to come in really kind of gently to begin with. And then you can press a little bit harder to pull in more color. I need some more light over here. Let me pull in another lamp. There we go. At least I can see what I'm doing. Okay, so now I'm going to add a bit more color here. Oh, there goes my light. My light for somehow has gotten lazy and it won't stay in one position. I don't know why. All right, so I'm going to pick up some more ink. I'm going to rub off a little bit on my scrap, and then I'm going to come in. So you can make this as light or as dark as you want. I'm making it a little bit darker than what I see in the card because I think it will pull out the coneflower color better. All right, so I'm not doing the whole thing. I'm just kind of going down the center. And I'm going to close up my ink pad. And then I'm going to throw this in my embossing folder. And let's throw this through the machine. So we're adding a little bit of texture to our background. Here we go. Okay, so there is our texture on our card. Not sure if you can, oh, there you can see it in the camera. Look how cool that is. Okay, this is going to be a great embossing folder for Christmas because you kind of see a lot of plaid at Christmas. Okay, so this is going to sit right in the center of my card base, and I can glue that on with my Tombow glue. We're not using any ribbon to wrap around, but if you wanted to wrap a bit of silver or gold thread or a ribbon, now's the time to do it before you commit this to the card base. So let me just pull in my Tombow glue. I'm not sure if you guys can hear. Oh, hi, Carol. How are you? Welcome. So I'll put some Tombow glue on here. So I don't know if you guys can hear some noise in the background. There, it's just started up. Can you hear that? That's my husband in the garage. He's doing a woodworking job. All right, so I've brought in my silicone mat just so I can see the background, so I can see what I'm doing. And I'm going to center this and then lay it down. Okay, so that's the background of our card made. All right, let's work on our coneflower. Okay, so I've got this scrap piece. Now, when you stamp the coneflower, it is one stamp. Okay, it's quite a large stamp, so you kind of need a big block, or if you still have your Stamparatus or a stamp tool of some kind, there are a few out there on the market. You stamp this, and we're not going to use the whole die, but what I'm saying is there's only one die. So you stamp the flower and then you can cut it out so that it's like a card. But I'm only going to cut half of it out. Okay, so I want to kind of orient my die. I'm going to put the die I don't want to waste the paper by cutting out the whole thing is what I'm trying to say to you guys. So what I want to do is I'm going to stamp my flower up here and then just use half of the die to cut that out. Okay, so I'm going to do this in Tuxedo Black ink. And I'm going to stamp it right onto the stamp itself. This bigger block can be a bit heavy for some people, and I don't want to risk dropping it onto the pad. So I'm going to stamp this right here like this. So again, if you were planning to make more of these cards, now would be a good time. I've got quite a long piece of paper here. Now would be a good time just to keep stamping to make some extra sunflowers. Okay, so that's that. Now I'm going to wait and let that dry. I'm also going to stamp the butterfly. And we're going to die cut the butterfly out. So let's put the butterfly here. Okay, now the greeting is stamped in black, and it's actually stamped on Coastal Cabana was one of the colors. So I'm going to grab just a little piece of Coastal Cabana, and we're going to fussy cut because there is no die. It's too bad they didn't include a die for that, just that It's Your Day. It's a nice stamp. So I'm going to just stamp this in the black, and then I'll fussy cut it. There you go. Okay, now what else do we need? It's good to do your stamping and then your die cutting. So we need 2 leaves, and we also need a stem. So this is the stem, and I'm going to do it in the black, of course, and then I'm going to color that. So here's the stem. Okay, and then we also need 2 of the leaves. So we'll do a leaf here, and we'll do a leaf here. Okay, so we've got the coneflower, we've got the butterfly, we've got the leaves, we've got the stem, we've got the greeting. Okay, we are good to go. All right, so we're going to do some coloring and some blending. So I want to wait for that to dry a little bit. So maybe we'll spend the time doing some fussy cutting here. Can I move up a little higher on the screen? I look pretty centered right now. Am I not good? Maybe I'll zoom out a bit. Whoops, that's too much. How's that? Is that better? All right, so let's fussy cut this. So what have you guys been making recently? Or what stamp sets or suites have you been working on? It's fun to hear what people are doing. Okay, so it's your day. All right. And I'll go ahead and put some dimensionals on here. I'll pull out my little mini dimensionals. Okay, whoops, that greeting is ready. All right. Now I think we're ready to do some coloring. Now I'm going to do this butterfly in blue. And so we've got in these watercolor pencils, we've got colors that are retired. That's what I'm saying. We need an update. Yeah, we've got Bermuda Bay in there. I might use Granny Apple Green on the leaves. And I'm going to use a combination of Daffodil Delight. And I'm hoping there's a crushed berry, if I remember correctly. Is there a crushed berry in here? Calypso Coral, crushed curry. It kind of looks, the top looks, they didn't match the colors very well with the top, but that's crushed curry right there. Okay, and the blue, I don't really have a pale blue. I've got, oh, here's Balmy Blue. Look, that looks like Pacific Point. Do you remember Pacific Point? So let's use this blue on the butterfly. So I'm just going to color very lightly on the butterfly. The butterfly is all one color, it looks like. Now, you don't have to use, you could use your blends if you wanted to instead of the watercolor pencils. It's totally up to you. So I'm just going around in little circles. So that way I don't have to worry about the pencil marks in here. Okay, and the body is in black. Now I'm going to do a little bit of darker. I'm going to press down a little bit harder on some of these top bits. And I'm not going to fill in the whole thing because I want to show you the blending. You guys are probably already familiar with these pencils. Okay. And I need a bit of black. There's a black, basic black for the body. This is a really sweet little butterfly. Okay, now I'm going to take my blender pen. These come in a pack of 3, and they're double-ended, and they've got a specialized liquid inside. And you clean them just by brushing them off on scrap paper. So before I start using them, I want to make sure, yeah, see, there's a little bit of green in there. So I just want to make sure I get rid of that green in there, or I could see what the other tip is like. Oh, see, there's red in here. I usually clean them after I use them, but I must have forgotten or been in a rush. Okay, that looks pretty good. All right, so now I'm going to just blend the color. So see, you can pull that color out. Now the camera probably is not going to pick this up, but it is smoothing out the lines. And I'm just blending the color down to the bottom of those pieces. And then I'm going to clean this so it's not too dark. Okay. And now I'm going to just blend over the rest of the butterfly just to smooth out the edges. So you do want to make sure that your Memento ink is dry. So sadly you can't see that, but it is beautiful and smooth now. Okay. So that's our butterfly done. Now I'm going to do this stem. It looks like the stem is pretty well. Oh no, maybe it is in green. Makes sense. So I'm just going to use this Granny Apple Green. I'm going to go darker along this one edge. And then I'll go a little bit lighter on the rest of it. When our alcohol markers first came out, I mean, I loved them. I'm not such a big fan anymore because of the problems with them drying out. I'm not doing a very good sales pitch, but I like to be honest. They do dry out, and then the caps are almost impossible to get off, and then they break. And yeah, I'm sorry, Stampin' Up, but it's not one of your best products. All of your other stuff is great, but all right, so I'm just going to take my pen and blend that out. And when you blend, use the blender pen, it kind of brightens it up a little bit. All right, so the leaves, I'm going to just do an overall color. Yes, you can use Wink of Stella. When you want that little bit of shine, Wink of Stella is actually a fantastic paintbrush, right? It's just a clear with glitter in it. And I do use it a lot for painting. Because again, you can put a color really dark, like at the top of the leaf here, and then with the Wink of Stella, just pull that color down into the rest of the leaf. I love Wink of Stella. Every time I say that name, it reminds me of our very first navigation system we bought. We used her in Florida, and we called her Stella. I don't know why we had the name Stella, but we did. All right, I'm going to go a little bit darker in the bottom. And then I'll do a few dark bits where the veins are. These watercolor pencils, the lead is quite strong. I've never broken one. And sometimes I do press down quite a bit. Okay, let's blend that. And then we're going to do our coneflower. I don't know why I don't grow coneflowers. They're just a beautiful flower. We've got lots of daisies in the front of our house, but no coneflowers. All right, now coneflower. So I thought I would do a little bit of yellow all over. So let's just quickly do some yellow. The other thing I should mention is when you're using the blender pens too, you don't have to color every bit of space, right? I'm just really randomly, just because of time as well, but I don't have to make sure all the white is covered, because the blending will blend the color into the white. Now, this stamp set's going to be a lot of fun because, I mean, you can color flowers anything you want. They don't have to stay traditional. And I'm not sure, maybe some of you who know gardening more than I do, but I don't think coneflowers come in multiple colors, do they? I think they're mostly, or maybe I'm thinking of Lazy Susans. Okay, so this is a, what color? This is, oh, well, this is actually crushed curry. I didn't mean to do crushed curry for the top of the flower. Maybe I'll bring in a bit of, I know we have early espresso in here somewhere. What color is that? Cajun Craze. I know I have early espresso. This is early espresso. I think I'll do a bit of dark along the outer edges. Okay, and then let's go back to Cajun. No, I don't want Cajun Craze. What was I saying? Crushed curry. So I'm going to start at the top and just drag down a little bit. Isn't it exciting watching me color? Not. Okay, now let's grab our blender pen and see what we get. So I'm going to pull the color down See, so when you pull the crushed curry, not crushed curry. What the heck? Not, is it crushed curry? Yeah, crushed curry. I get crushed curry and Cajun craze mixed up often. So what was I saying? When you pull that color, then it didn't matter that you didn't get all the color to the bottom of the leaves. You'll just pull it down. Now, I'm just thinking some of the leaves underneath, maybe they should be just a tiny bit darker. What do you guys think? Is that the right color? Crushed curry. Yeah. No, I don't want crushed. Oh my gosh, you guys, I'm getting so confused here. Early espresso, daffodil delight. Black. Yeah, it is crushed curry. I'm going to do some of the leaves that are underneath just a little bit darker in there. Now, the blender pen is it's a wet medium, okay? So you don't want to go over it too much because you don't want it to pill your paper, because I'm using just regular basic white. Okay, our coloring is done. Now, so the fun thing now is that I should be able to die cut pretty well everything at the same time. So let's position these on here. And I'll pull out some tape. So here's the second leaf. It's nice that the leaves are different. Okay, and here's the little butterfly. Now, if you wanted to add the textured center of that flower, you could on the card. Okay. I need a bit more tape. Okay, and then we need the stem. Here's the stem. Let's move this tape up a little bit more. Pull it down here. Whoops. Okay. Let's hope everything stays on there. And I'll take this and I'll cut that out. Actually, I'm going to do 2 runs. I don't want my coneflower die to be hanging off the edge because it might bend. So I'm going to cut out the other pieces first. Then I'll come back and do the coneflower. Okay. So we've got 1 leaf. We've got 2 leaves. We've got our adorable little butterfly. And we've got our stem. Okay, now let me go and cut the coneflower. All right. Here I am tripping over my chair. All right, so now we've got our coneflower. Let's put our dies over here. All right, so this is what I get with the coneflower now, because I cut it without cutting out the whole thing. I just have to do my own little wiggly trim on the top. I'll just kind of do a little zigzag and cut it out. There we go. Nobody would be any the wiser. And I can use this paper again for scrap. Okay, I think we're ready to put our flower together. Let me just pull my picture in front of me so I can see what I'm doing. All right, so we've got our stem. Here's our card base, ready to go. See, look how that blue pops that yellow out. Wow. And it's quite on an angle. Okay, and I got to fit the butterfly on here. So I'm going to place stuff on here. It's going to overhang the other side. The butterfly is going to sit about like that. You can go over the edge of your card base a tiny bit. And then this is going to go up in here like this. We could cut it. We really don't need it that long. So I just want to position everything. And I think this needs to be a little bit higher up. And the butterfly is like there. And then the stem comes down pretty straight. And then we've got one leaf over here. And it does get tucked under there a bit. And I think I'm going to pull my leaf down a bit. Okay. And then this one's going to go over here. I think I'll tuck them. No, I'll tuck them on the top. All right, so that's what it's kind of going to look like. And then our greeting is going to sit there. Okay, let's just pull this down a bit more. All right, so the first thing I'm going to glue is the stem. Okay. And then the leaves are actually tucked behind. Too late now. That's okay. We can put them on the top. And you know how I like to put a little bit of dimension on the tops of like flowers and stems. So I'm going to put one on the top of that and one on the top of this one. Okay, so let's get a bit of glue. And we're going to put this right like this. Okay, and then we're going to put a bit of glue on this leaf. I love when the card starts coming together. This is going to get actually tucked underneath. And it's a little bit lower, like there. Okay. Now I'm going to put a little dimensionals along the bottom just to lift the bottom of the coneflower up from the card. I'll put a bit of glue at the top. And this is going to go right about there. And I'm going to put the butterfly. I think I'll have it. I'm going to trim this. I think my die slipped a little bit. So let me just trim up this butterfly just so there's not as much of a white edge there. Our dies really fit really well, but if it shifts, if you don't get it positioned on there exactly, you get a bit too much white space. There we go. We're going to have him sit. So we need dimensionals on here. On our butterfly. So I'm going to glue the body down. I'm going to put him right like that. The magic. Yes, it's the magic when it all comes together. And then we've got our little greeting to put down here. Okay. All right. Now, I did not order the new in color flat. They're called, I think they were called flat pearls. But I pulled out the rainbow adhesive back dots. I think they're still current. They came out in the 2024 last year's sale spring catalog. But it's got this balmy blue in here, which I want to use. So we've got a few. I'm going to use this big one right here. And a little one right here, right at the top of the card. And then I'm going to use another big one down here. Okay, now I was using Wink of Stella. I think it was you, Christine, who suggested using Wink of Stella on some of these embellishments. And it actually did work. The sparkle was left behind, but it wasn't shiny anymore. So I wanted to get back to you on that. It did work, but... Okay, I'm going to do some Wink of Stella on this beautiful little butterfly. just on those top wings there. Okay. All right, ladies, there's the card. Look how pretty that is. I'm quite impressed with this coneflower. I can't wait to try all the other dyes. And I noticed, Christine, you had mentioned in the picture that dye created some textured background, which is really cool. This is a cool little card too. That's a really cute card. And I love this one. So I think this one is using the extra die cuts on here. Definitely that's a die cut, and that's the other extra die cut. And it looks like they've done multiple layers on there. And then there's the leaves, the die cuts. Ooh, I have to make this card next for sure. So there you go, ladies. Thank you so much. Oops, let me just bring me back and kill the light. Yeah, thank you so much for joining me. I'm not sure if you got this set, but this might convince you to get this set. It's just gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. And you can do all kinds of watercoloring, techniques. You can use your blends, you can use your watercolor pencils. You could actually do some watercolor painting with your our water brushes and your inks. Yeah, really, really pretty. And I like that background in there. I'm very happy with that card. That's a happy, happy card. So thanks so much for joining me. And I will be back Friday morning. I've got a fun fold for tomorrow morning. I notice most of you don't join me Friday morning. That's perfectly fine. You can always watch the replay, but I'm happy to be getting back into my fun folds and to give you some more ideas for fun folds. So thanks so much. And otherwise, have a wonderful Friday and have a wonderful weekend. Bye, you guys.